Hello everyone and welcome to Career Launcher. So in today's GK class, we are going to discuss about the Election Commission of India. So I'm sure you must be aware that Election Commission of India has been very much in the news because we are witnessing elections also in some states. And plus there have been some allegations against Election Commission of India regarding vote theft, etc. So what we have decided to discuss is, let's discuss about the Election Commission, the constitutional aspect regarding it, and who is the chief election commissioner and the other election commissioners. So let us begin with today's class. This is me, Salik Ahmed. So I'll discuss it with the help of question and answer. And if you know the answer, you should be writing it in the live chat. Okay. So let us begin with the first question. Which of the following is correct about Election Commission of India? Your options are a statutory body. It's a statutory body. It is a constitutional body. It is neither statutory nor constitutional. Initially, it was a statutory body and later it became a constitutional body. What is the right answer to this question? If you know it, please answer me in the live chat. I'll be very happy to know. So basically, it is actually a constitutional body, which is mentioned in Article 324 since the beginning. So saying option D is not correct because since beginning, it was actually a constitutional body. And the constitution has recognized it because it is very important. It has to be independent to ensure free and fair election, which is actually a prerequisite for democracy. Because if the election commission is not independent or if it is compromised, then of course it will impact the idea of democracy in India, right? That is why the constitution of India has given so much powers to the election commission, and the powers cannot be taken so easily. Of course, it is actually, that is the idea behind this. So the powers, which article of the Indian Constitution talks about the Election Commission of India? So the right answer to this question is Article 324. So A is the right answer to this question. So you can see it here. Article 324 says the superintendence, direction and control of the preparation of electoral rolls. So I'm sure SIR comes from here. I'm sure we have seen special intensive revision happening in Bihar. So the preparation of electoral rolls or revising it. So election commission has power regarding it. And the conduct of the election of parliament, legislature of every state, election of president and vice president is actually in the hand of Election Commission of India. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. Now, let's move on to the next one. The Election Commission of India conducts election for what? So you should be knowing it. I've just told you that yes, they conduct election for president, vice president, for the parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, for the state legislature, okay, which includes legislative assembly and legislative council. These are actually conducted by a separate body, constitutional body called as State Election Commission. Okay, that is what you should be knowing. So the right answer to this question is 6. So only 6 of them are correct. So the right answer is C. Anna. So C is the right answer to this question. And I have just shown you. You can see it here. So they conduct election for parliament. That is for member of parliament, which includes Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. Then member of state legislature, which includes legislative assembly and legislative council. Then president of India and the vice president of India. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. Okay. So, and the State Election Commission is a separate constitutional body which conducts election for panchayats and municipalities. Okay, you can see it here. The superintendence, direction and control of elections to be vested in an election commission. Okay, that is what you should know. Similarly, we have State Election Commission, and I have told you that State Election Commission is also a constitutional body because conducting elections of panchayats and municipalities. So I'm sure you must have heard 73rd Amendment constitutionalized the panchayats and 74th Amendment regarding municipal corporations. So panchayats are in rural areas and municipalities are in urban areas. And these are example of local self-government. That is what you should be knowing about. So B is the right answer to this question. So Article 243K deals with election to the panchayats, part 9. And yes, 243ZA also talks about election to the municipalities. Again, state election commission is there. Here is state election commission. So it also derives power from the Constitution of India, right? That is what you should be knowing. Let's move on further. The Election Commission of India is a dash member body currently. So 3 member, 5 member, 2 member, or 1 member. What is the right answer to this question? So the right answer is option A, 3-member body. So initially it was a 3-member body, it became 1-member body like this. It has been changed multiple times. So currently it is a 3-member body. And the dash mentions that the election commission should be a 3-member body. So basically it is done by presidential order, right? So president ensures. You can see it here, Article 324 says that election commission shall consist of chief election commissioner and other election commissioners, as president from time to time may fix. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. So C is the right answer to this question. Okay, 1989 we have seen president notifying 2 more, and then in 1990 we have seen there is only 1 member. Then again since October 1993 we are seeing 3-member election commission comprising of chief election commissioner and 2 election commissioners. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. Now, so I have told you it's a 3-member body comprising of a chief election commissioner and the 2 election commissioner. This is the current provision. So who is the chief election commissioner of India? I hope you all should be knowing it. Please answer it in the live chat. So the right answer actually is Mr. Gyanesh Kumar. He is the chief election commissioner. And in fact, he did recently press conference because there have been allegations by Mr. Rahul Gandhi regarding vote chori and vote theft, etc. So that is why he did press conference and he was very much in the news. So that is why, of course, this question can be asked. Who is the chief election commissioner of India? So the answer is Mr. Gyanesh Kumar. Okay, you can see it here. And yes, the other 2 are actually the election commissioners. Yes, so he is chief election commissioner and these are the 2 election commissioners. Okay, so he is chief election commissioner, Mr. Gyanesh Kumar, and the other 2 election commissioners include Dr. Sukhbir Singh Sandhu and Dr. Vivek Joshi. Okay, that is what you should know. The next is, who was the first chief election commissioner of India? Now, this is an interesting question, and we have seen in some exams this question being asked. So the right answer is Mr. Sukumar Sen. That is what you should be knowing about. Okay. Yes. And yes, you can see and a 1950. And his tenure was quite long, 8 years. Because nowadays we are not seeing such a long tenure. We hardly have 1, 2, 3 years of tenures are there nowadays of chief election commissioner. The next is, name the chief election commissioner who later on became a judge in ICJ. ICJ stands for International Court of Justice. And I'm sure you must be aware that International Court of Justice is actually also known as World Court, and it is one of the principal organ of UN, of United Nations. Okay, there are 6 principal organs. One of them is ICJ, which actually is headquartered in The Hague, Netherlands. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. So here you can see so Mr. Sukumar Sen is actually the chief election commissioner, and Mr. Nagendra Singh was actually the 4th chief election commissioner of India from 1st October 1972 to 6th February 1973. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. Yes, you can see president of International Court of Justice also. So basically there is a judge, and the head of the judge in ICJ is not called as chief justice. They use the word president. Okay, so in ICJ there are 15 judges elected for 9 years. Okay, and these 15 judges are actually, one of them is a chief justice, so they do not use the word chief justice, they use the word president. And we have seen other people also, like B.N. Rao, Mr. B.N. Rao, R.S. Pathak, and currently Justice Dalveer Bhandari, the former Supreme Court judge, is actually a judge of ICJ. That is what you should be knowing about. Yes, you can see he had served as 4th Chief Election Commissioner also. Okay, let's move on. Yes, if you're interested to know what is the difference between ICJ and ICC, International Criminal Court is also there. ICC, International Criminal Court. Here we are not talking about Cricket Council. International Criminal Court, I'm saying. That is also headquartered in ICJ, in The Hague. Both are headquartered in The Hague, but both are different things. This is more famous, ICJ, because it is UN court, UN body. That is why International Court of Justice, which is headquartered in The Hague, Netherlands, is very important. And we have seen questions like that. Where is ICJ headquartered? So the answer is The Hague, Netherlands. So these are the basic things you should be knowing. You can see the current Chief Election Commissioner is Mr. Gyanesh Kumar. Now, the next one is, what is the process of removal of a Chief Election Commissioner? So the process of removal of Chief Election Commissioner is same as that of the removal of Supreme Court judge. So we're talking about Chief Election Commissioner and the 2 election commissioners, right? So we are talking about this person. This person is removed in the same manner as a judge of Supreme Court. So B is the right answer to this question. Yes, provided, yes, I'm saying from Article 324, Clause 5. Provided that Chief Election Commissioner shall not be removed from his office except in the like in like manner and on the like grounds as a judge of the Supreme Court, right? So removal of judge of Supreme Court is mentioned in Article 124. Same as removal of High Court judge, same as removal of Supreme Court judge, same as removal of Chief Election Commissioner, or are same. Process are same, right? And now, if you're interested to know how a Supreme Court judge is removed, you can watch this class. These are actually available on our Law Interest channel. This is also a Career Launchers channel for those who are preparing for CLAT and law exams. Okay, you can watch it. Let's move on. What is the process of removal of election commissioners now? So we have 3-member body called as Chief Election Commissioner and 2 election commissioners. So he is removed exactly in the same manner as a judge of Supreme Court is removed, which is done by a parliamentary process as well. What about the other 2 election commissioners? How are they removed? If you know it, please write me in the comments. Okay, so the right answer is they are removed by the President of India on the advice of Council of Ministers. Sorry, on the advice of Chief Election Commissioner. So here the answer is option A. Removed by President on the advice of Chief Election Commissioner, and here it is written. Article 324, Clause 5. Shall not be varied. So you provided further that any election commissioners or regional commissioners shall not be removed except on the recommendation of Chief Election Commissioner. So basically now it has to be crystal clear. Chief Election Commissioner and 2 election commissioner. He is removed. He or she, the Chief Election Commissioner is removed exactly in the same manner as a judge of Supreme Court. These 2 are removed. I mean, of course, the removal is done by the president. The president finally signs it after the parliament has passed it with a special majority, right? That is how it is, the removal process of a Supreme Court judge. Similarly, the other 2 election commissioners are also removed by president on the advice of, who will advise? This person, Chief Election Commissioner. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. Okay. Now, but this was actually quite controversial in the sense that this is quite vague. That to ensure the clarity, someone filed a petition in the Supreme Court regarding removal of election commissioner, the other 2 election commissioners, and I think the matter is still pending in the court. Okay, that 324 Clause 5 are actually arbitrary, and it should also the petition was that, like Chief Election Commissioner, the other 2 election commissioners should also be removed by a Supreme Court. Like a Supreme Court judge removal. That is what the petition was. And I think the matter is still pending. So let us see what will happen. but you should be knowing about it, that someone had filed a petition that not only Chief Election Commissioner, but the other election commissioners should also be removed exactly in the same manner. Now, the next is, what is the tenure of Election Commissioner or Chief Election Commissioner? So basically, you should know it is 6 years or 65 years, whichever is earlier. The president appoints Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners. They have a tenure of 6 years or up to 65 years of age, whichever is earlier. Means, whichever is earlier means, let's say a person became a Chief Election Commissioner at the age of 63, so he will, or election commissioner, so he will retire at the age of 65 with 2 years of tenure only. But if someone has become, let's say, at the age of 58, so plus 6 years, he will retire at the age of 64. He or she. So that's the idea behind this. So B is the right answer to this question. So now the question is, the tenure of CEC, that is Chief Election Commissioner, is mentioned where? So we're talking about this 6 years, 65 years, where it is mentioned? Constitution, parliamentary law, presidential order, none of the above. What is the right answer to this question? So the right answer is, actually it is mentioned in Election Commission's Conduction of Services Act 1991. So it is actually a parliamentary law. Okay. It is not, this tenure is not mentioned in the Constitution. It is actually mentioned in the parliamentary law. Okay. So that is what you should be knowing. And there is no scope of Chief Election Commissioners being reappointed. Okay. This is what you should know. Yes. And they enjoy the same status as salaries, perks are as available to the Judge of Supreme Court of India. Appointment and tenure of election of commissioners. Yes, the terms and conditions, salary of the Chief Election Commissioner and the other election commissioner laid down by Election Commission, Condition of Services, Election Commission and Transaction of Business Act 1991. Right. Yes, you can read it. So this law talks about it, that Chief Election Commissioner, Election Commissioner shall hold office for Chief Election Commissioner, and the other 2 election commissioners shall hold office for 6 years or until 65 years of age. Okay. And their salaries and conditions are equivalent to those of the Supreme Court judge, cannot be varied to their disadvantage. The next is, the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commissioner is done by whom? So I've told you, you should be knowing any high level, top level appointment at central level will always be done by the President of India. The appointment of Chief Election Commission, the appointment of CAG, the appointment of Supreme Court judge, the appointment of High Court judge, the appointment of UPSC chairman, the appointment of Prime Minister and all the ministers, all are done by President of India. Okay, so A is the right answer. You can say that like Supreme Court judge is appointed by the President on the recommendation of Collegium, but appointment is done by President. Okay, this has to be very crystal clear. A is the right answer to this question. Now, the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commissioner is done by the President on the recommendation of which committee? What is that? If you know the answer, please answer me. I'll be very happy to know. The right answer is option A. A is the right answer. The selection committee consisting of Prime Minister, Union Cabinet Minister, Leader of Opposition, the largest opposition party in Lok Sabha. So A is the right answer to this question. Chief Justice of India. So Anup Banwal case was there. Okay. Where the Supreme Court said that the Chief Election Commissioner or the 2 election commissioners should be appointed by the President on the advice of a select committee. Okay. This select committee will comprise of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha, and the Chief Justice of India. However, later on, government came up with this bill. This bill was passed, and this selection committee talked about Prime Minister, the Union Cabinet Minister, and Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha. So basically, this Chief Justice of India was replaced with Union Minister. So why it was people had again challenged it? Why? Because the Prime Minister and Union Minister are from the same, of course, from the same party, and Leader of Opposition will be from opposite sides. So of course, these two will come. There'll be 2:1 whenever they'll be voting. Okay. So now this parliamentary bill, when it was passed, it was again challenged. So bill to remove CGI from panel. So instead of CGI, so I've told you that the appointment of election commissioners, there'll be CGI. That was the judgment of Supreme Court, leader of opposition Lok Sabha, and Prime Minister. So President will appoint the Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commissioner on the advice of a 3-member committee. So instead of CGI, the bill brought the concept of cabinet minister, one cabinet minister. So that's why it was opposed by the opposition, and the matter was actually being challenged again in the Supreme Court under 2023 law. So this is the same law being talked about. And the Supreme Court will hear the matter. They have not stayed the law. So technically, this is the law currently, which says that cabinet minister, leader of opposition, and prime minister will be in the select committee who will recommend to the president about the new appointment of new chief election commissioner or election commissioners. Okay. However, it has been challenged. So the matter is being heard by the Supreme Court. However, the Supreme Court has not stayed the matter. That is what you should be knowing about. Okay. Yes. So ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms, is a very famous NGO. I'm sure you must have heard, which has fought for electoral reforms for the past many years. So they have filed a petition in this regard. Now, the next one is powers of election commissioner. And you can read it, right? We have already done it, but let's have some idea. That Article 324 talks about superintendence, direction, control of election commission. And so Parliament, state legislature, and president and vice president. And they have administrative power of conducting free and fair election, updating of electoral rolls. And then recognizing, registering, and derecognizing parties, allotting election symbols. Right, advisory opinion also. They advises on disqualification of MPs and MLAs. Okay, if let's say then quasi judicial powers, similar to that. So they implement, enforce model code of conduct. So these are the things. Regulatory powers, there are other powers also. That is what you should know. So this is all about today's class. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, share this video. Thank you everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.